Let me share with you what actually happens in consciousness during a 72-hour period following a true change in your assumption. The first 24 hours are crucial, as this is when your new assumption begins to take root in your subconscious mind. The second 24 hours strengthen this new pattern, and by the third day, a complete transformation of consciousness has occurred. Many of you wonder why your manifestations seem to take so long, why your reality doesn't immediately reflect your desires. But I tell you this, there is a specific period of gestation for every seed planted in consciousness, just as there is for every seed planted in the earth. 72 hours represents a complete cycle of transformation in consciousness. Consider this: in Scripture we read of the 3 days Christ spent in the tomb before his resurrection. This is not merely a historical account, but a profound psychological truth. Every transformation in consciousness requires the 3 days, it's 72 hours, before externalization begins. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to manifestation. You stop wondering when your desire will manifest and start understanding the precise law that governs all manifestation. You recognize that time is not an enemy but a necessary component of psychological gestation. Let me tell you something vital about these 72 hours. They begin the moment you completely accept your desire as an accomplished fact, not when you start wishing for it, not when you start affirming it, but when you actually accept it as done in your consciousness. Here's a profound truth about this 72-hour period. It operates whether you believe in it or not. Just as a seed will take a specific time to germinate regardless of whether you understand the process, your assumption will take approximately 72 hours to begin its manifestation regardless of your conscious beliefs about timing. Think about this. Every major change in your life was preceded by a change in your consciousness approximately 72 hours before its physical manifestation. You may not have been aware of it, but this law was operating nonetheless. This law operates in conscious with absolute precision, transforming your entire world through a specific sequence that unfolds over these 72 hours. Let me break down for you exactly what happens during this crucial period of transformation. In the first 24 hours, something profound begins to occur in your consciousness. The moment you truly accept your desire as an accomplished fact, your entire inner world begins to reorganize itself around this new assumption. Old patterns of thought begin to dissolve, and a new pattern starts to form. Many of you have experienced fleeting moments of acceptance only to fall back into doubt and disbelief. But I tell you this, if you can maintain your new assumption for just 72 hours, holding it as true regardless of external evidence, you will set in motion forces that manage to manifest in its manifestation. Consider this: when a woman conceives, she doesn't immediately see external evidence of her pregnancy, yet from the very first moment of conception, forces are at work within her body, preparing for the manifestation of new life. The same is true of your consciousness during these first 24 hours. During the second 24-hour period, something even more remarkable occurs. Your new assumption begins to affect your subjective world, your thoughts, your feelings, your natural reactions to events. You begin to think from your desire fulfilled rather than of it. Let me tell you something crucial about this second day. This is often when doubt tries to creep in. The external world may still show no evidence of change, and your rational mind may try to convince you that nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, massive reorganization is taking place. Here's a profound truth about the second day. It's the period of death to the old man. Just as Christ spent the second day in the tomb, this is when your old patterns of thought and belief must die to make way for the new. This can feel uncomfortable, even disconcerting, but it's absolutely necessary. Think about this. Every transformation in nature goes through a period where the old form must die before the new can emerge. The caterpillar must cease to be a caterpillar before it can become a butterfly. The same principle applies to your consciousness during these crucial 72 hours. The very discomfort you might feel during this period is evidence that transformation is occurring. Your old patterns of thought and belief are dissolving, making way for your new assumption to take root and grow. The final 24 hours of this 72-hour period are perhaps the most crucial, for this is when the complete transformation of consciousness occurs. This is the period of resurrection when your new assumption becomes so natural that you can no longer remember how it felt to be in your former state. Let me share with you exactly what happens during these final 24 hours. Your new assumption, which has been gestating in the depths of your consciousness, begins to rise to the surface. It no longer feels like something you're trying to believe. It simply feels like what is. Many of you might experience what seems like a moment of crisis during this final period. But I tell you this, what appears to be a crisis is often the breaking point where the old must give way to the new. It's the darkness before the dawn, the final resistance of the old man before the new man rises. Consider this in Scripture. It was during the final hours in the tomb that the resurrection occurred, not gradually, not partially, but in one complete transformation. The same is true of your consciousness during these final 24 hours. The transformation, when it comes, is complete. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your experience of these 72 hours. You stop seeing them as a period of waiting and start recognizing them as a sacred time of transformation. Each hour becomes precious, each moment significant. Let me tell you something vital about these final hours. They often bring what appears to be a complete contradiction to your desire. This is what I call the moment of greatest appearance of failure. But remember, appearances are merely the shadow of past assumptions, not the reality of your present consciousness. Here's a profound truth about this final period. It's when your outer world begins to respond to your new inner conviction. Things begin to shift, often in ways you couldn't have consciously planned or anticipated. People begin to treat you differently. Circumstances begin to rearrange themselves. Hike about this, every great transformation in history appeared darkest just before its completion. The crucifixion preceded the resurrection. The darkest hour comes just before dawn. This principle is reflected in your own consciousness during these final hours. The very circumstances that seem to deny your assumption are often the ones being rearranged to accommodate its fulfillment. What appears to be resistance is actually reorganization. This reorganization of your outer world follows an immutable pattern, much like the transformation of your inner consciousness. Just as a seed must break through the soil that appears to resist it, your new assumption must break through the appearances of your current reality. Let me share with you what actually happens in your outer world during this period. People who seemed indifferent to you suddenly become helpful. Circumstances that appeared fixed begin to shift. Opportunities that weren't visible before suddenly present themselves. All of this occurs not by chance, by law. Many of you observe your outer world anxiously during these 72 hours, looking for signs of change. But I tell you this, the changes are occurring whether you can see them or not. Just as a plant grows beneath the soil before breaking through to the surface, your manifestation is taking form before becoming visible. Consider this when you plant a seed. The soil must be disturbed. Old patterns must be broken up to make way for new growth. The same is true of your outer world during these 72 hours. What appears as disruption is actually the rearrangement necessary for your new assumption to manifest. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your response to external circumstances during this period. You stop being disturbed by appearances that seem to contradict your assumption. You recognize them as necessary adjustments in the grand pattern of manifestation. Let me tell you something crucial about this reorganization. It often occurs in ways that your conscious mind could never have planned. The wisdom of your subconscious mind, which is one with infinite intelligence, knows exactly how to bring about the conditions necessary for your assumption to materialize. Here's a profound truth about this outer reorganization. It follows the path of least resistance. While your conscious mind might imagine complicated scenarios requiring massive changes, your subconscious mind finds the simplest, most natural way to bring about your desire's fulfillment. Think about this. Every desire you hold contains within itself the seeds of its own fulfillment. When you plant that desire in consciousness through your assumption, it begins to attract and arrange everything necessary for its manifestation. This arrangement often occurs in ways that appear miraculous to the conscious mind. The very circumstances that seem to stand in the way of your desire often become the means of its fulfillment. This is the wisdom of the law operating through the perfect pattern of the 72-hour principle. This pattern unfolds in your experience with a precision that would astonish you if you could see it from a higher perspective. Every thought, every encounter, every seemingly random event during these 72 hours is part of an intricate dance orchestrated by your new assumption. Let me share with you what's actually occurring moment by moment during this period. Your consciousness, having accepted the new assumption, begins to attract corresponding experiences. People begin to treat you according to your new concept of self. Circumstances begin to mirror your inner conviction. This isn't coincidence, it's law. Many of you wonder why certain people suddenly change their behavior toward you, why new opportunities suddenly appear, why solutions to old problems suddenly become clear. But I tell you this, nothing is sudden about it. Each change is the result of your shifted consciousness working through the perfect pattern of these 72 hours. After this, when you drop a pebble into a pond, the ripples move outward in perfect circles affecting every part of the water's surface. Your assumption works in the same way during these 72 hours, sending ripples through the entire fabric of your reality, touching every aspect of your world. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your awareness during this period. You begin to recognize every event, every conversation, every seemingly random occurrence as part of the pattern of fathomment. Nothing is meaningless. Everything is significant. Let me tell you something vital about this unfolding pattern. It requires no effort on your part beyond maintaining your assumption. You don't need to make things happen. You don't need to manipulate circumstances. The pattern unfolds by law, not by effort. Here's a profound truth about these 72 hours. They represent a complete cycle of transformation from death of the old to birth of the new. Just as the moon moves through its phases, just as the earth rotates through day and night, your consciousness moves through this perfect pattern of transformation. Think about this. Every great master who ever walked the earth taught the same truth in different words. 3 days in the tomb, the third day resurrection, the threefold pattern of transformation. They were all pointing to this same law that operates in consciousness through the 72-hour cycle. The very experiences you encounter during this period, whether they appear positive or negative, are all part of the perfect pattern of fulfillment. Nothing is out of place. Nothing is accidental. To recognize and work with this pattern requires a complete reversal of your usual way of thinking. Instead of looking to external events for evidence, you must maintain an unshackable awareness of your assumptions. Reality these 72 hours. Let me share with you exactly how to maintain this awareness as the pattern unfolds. When you wake each morning during this period, your first thought must be from the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Before your feet touch the floor, before your mind engages with the day's activities, you must renew your awareness of already being who you desire to be. Many of you start your days by immediately checking external reality for signs of change. But I tell you this, the external will not show evidence until the full 72-hour cycle is complete. Your task during this time is to live from your new assumption regardless of appearances. Consider this when an actor takes on a role. They must maintain that character's consciousness throughout the entire performance. They can't drop in and out of character and expect to give a convincing performance. The same is true of your new assumption during these 72 hours. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your daily experience. You stop living in anticipation of change and stop living from the consciousness of the change already accomplished. This is the secret of working with the pattern rather than against it. Let me tell you something crucial about maintaining this awareness. It's not about forcing yourself to believe something. It's about allowing yourself to feel the naturalness of your new state. The more natural it feels, the more powerfully the pattern works. Here's a profound truth about these 72 hours. Your every reaction, your every response, your every inner conversation must spring from your new assumption. This isn't about pretending or affirming. It's about actually occupying your desired state in consciousness. Think about this. Every time you react from your old state of consciousness, you interrupt the pattern. Every time you respond from your new assumption, you strengthen it. The pattern requires consistency in consciousness to work its perfect law. The very circumstances that tempt you to react from your old state are actually opportunities to strengthen your new assumption. Each challenge is a chance to prove the reality of your inner transformation. These challenging moments during the 72 hours are not obstacles to your manifestation. They are vital parts of the pattern itself. They are opportunities to prove the reality of your new state in consciousness. Let me share with you exactly what to do when these moments arise. When circumstances seem to contradict your assumption, when people act contrary to your desired experience, when everything appears to be moving in the opposite direction. These are the moments when your new consciousness must be maintained with even greater conviction. Many of you interpret challenging circumstances as evidence that your assumption isn't working. But I tell you this, these very circumstances are part of the bridge of incidents, necessary events that must occur to bring about the fulfillment of your desire. They are not obstacles, but stepping stones. Consider this. When you're driving at night, the headlights illuminate only a small portion of the road ahead. Yet you trust that as you continue moving forward, more of the path will be revealed. The same trust is required during these 72 hours. You don't need to see the entire path. You need only maintain your assumption. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your response to challenging circumstances. Instead of being discouraged by apparent contradictions, you begin to welcome them as confirmation that the old patterns are dissolving to make way for the new. Let me tell you something vital about these challenging moments. They often intensify just before the manifestation of your desire. This intensification is not a sign of failure, but a sign that the old patterns are making their final stand before dissolving completely. Here's a profound truth about handling these moments. Your only task is to remain faithful to your assumption. You don't need to fight circumstances, argue with appearances, or try to force changes. Your task is simply to maintain your consciousness of the wish fulfilled. Think about this. Every great manifestation in history was preceded by a period of apparent contradiction. The darkest hour comes just before dawn. The seed must completely break down before the new plant can emerge. These are not merely poetic metaphors. They are descriptions of the law in operation. The very circumstances that seem most opposed to your desire are often the ones being rearranged to bring about its fulfillment. What appears as resistance is actually reorganization. This process of reorganization during the 72 hours follows a precise pattern that, understood, will transform your entire approach to manifestation. What appears as chaos in your outer world is actually perfect order taking shape according to your new assumption. Let me share with you what's actually happening during this reorganization. Your entire world, every person, every circumstance, every condition must adjust itself to match your new assumption. This adjustment often appears as disruption before the new pattern emerges. Many of you become discouraged when your world appears to be falling apart during these 72 hours. But I tell you this, what appears to be falling apart is actually falling into place. The old patterns must dissolve before the new patterns can emerge, just as old structures must be demolished before new ones can be built. Consider this when you rearrange furniture in a room. There's always a moment when everything appears to be in chaos. The room looks worse before it looks better. The same principle applies to the reorganization of your world during these 72 hours. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your perception of change. You stop resisting the apparent chaos and start recognizing it as a necessary part of the reorganization. You understand that disorder is often the prelude to a new and higher order. Let me tell you something crucial about this reorganization. It affects not only your external circumstances, but also your inner world. Old thought patterns dissolve, old emotional responses fade away, old habits naturally fall aside as your new assumption takes root. Here's a profound truth about this process. It works with mathematical precision. Just as water must reach 200 degrees Fahrenheit to boil, just as a seed must remain in darkness before it sprouts, your consciousness must maintain your assumption for approximately 72 hours for complete reorganization to occur. Think about this. Every major shift in your life followed this same pattern, whether you were conscious of it or not. A change in consciousness always preceded a change in circumstance by approximately 72 hours. This is not coincidence, it is law. The very disruption you experience during this period is evidence that the law is working. Your world is reorganizing itself to match your new assumption with perfect precision. This precision of the law operating through the 72-hour principle is as exact as any law in physics or mathematics. It operates with the same certainty that brings dawn after night, spring after winter, harvest after planting. Let me share with you exactly how this precision manifests in your experience. During these 72 hours, everything, every word you speak, every action you take is either aligned with your new assumption or contradicts it. There is no neutral ground. The law registers everything with perfect precision. Many of you wonder why some manifestations seem to come easily while others appear to resist your efforts. But I tell you this, the law is never working more or less effectively. The only variable is your consciousness, your ability to maintain your assumption consistently throughout the 72-hour period. Consider this. When you drop an object, gravity doesn't sometimes work and sometimes fail. It operates with perfect precision every time. The same is true of this law of consciousness. Your assumption, held steadily for 72 hours, must manifest with the same certainty that a released object must fall. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your approach to manifestation. You stop hoping and start knowing. You stop pleading and start accepting. You stop wondering if it will work and start living from the certainty that it must work. Let me tell you something vital about this precision. It operates independently of your past experiences, your current circumstances, or others' opinions. The law responds only to your consciousness, your assumption maintained over these 72 hours. Here's a profound truth about this precise operation of law. It works the same way for everyone, every time. Just as mathematics doesn't play favorites, just as gravity doesn't discriminate, this law operates with perfect precision for anyone who applies it correctly. Think about this. Every successful manifestation you've ever experienced, whether consciously or unconsciously, followed this precise pattern. The law didn't bend or make exceptions. It simply outpictured with mathematical precision whatever you assumed to be true. The very precision that seems to work against you when you doubt is the same precision that works for you when you maintain your assumption. The law is always working with perfect accuracy. Working with this precision requires a complete understanding of how consciousness operates during these 72 hours. Your every thought, your every inner conversation, your every feeling must align with your assumption with the same precision that a mathematician applies to equations. Let me share with you exactly how to maintain this precise alignment. When you wake in the morning, your first thought must be from your new state. When you go about your day, your inner conversations must reflect your assumption. When you fall asleep at night, you must sleep as though your desire is already fulfilled. Many of you approach manifestation with a mixture of old and new states, shifting between doubt and belief, between old patterns and new assumptions. But I tell you this, the law requires precision. You cannot serve two masters. You must choose your assumption and maintain it with unwavering fidelity. Consider this when a watchmaker assembles a timepiece. Every gear, every spring, every component must be precisely aligned. A single misaligned piece affects the entire mechanism. The same is true of your consciousness during these 72 hours. Every aspect must be in perfect alignment. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your mental discipline. You become acutely aware of your thoughts, your inner conversations, your reactions. You recognize that each mental movement either supports or undermines your assumption. Let me tell you something crucial about this precision. It extends to your emotional state as well. You must feel with the same precision that you think. The feeling of your wish fulfilled must be so precise that it becomes your dominant emotional state. Here's a profound truth about working with this precision. It requires constant vigilance during these 72 hours. You cannot afford mental laziness or emotional indulgence in the old state. Every moment must be lived from your new assumption with mathematical precision. Think about this. Just as a scientist in a laboratory must maintain precise conditions for an experiment to succeed, you must maintain precise conditions in consciousness for your assumption to manifest. There can be no contamination from doubts, no dilution with fears. The very precision that makes this law seem demanding is what makes it infallible. When you maintain your assumption with mathematical accuracy, the law must respond with equal precision. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the threshold of a new life, a life so vibrant, so filled with purpose and joy, that it seems almost unreal. Yet here you are, poised to step into this magnificent reality. This very moment, as you listen to these words, is the pivot point upon which your entire existence is about to turn. You may ask, how can this be? How can a simple video, a collection of words and images, herald such a profound transformation in my life? The answer, my dear listeners, lies not in the video itself, but in the power that resides within you, a power so vast, so limitless, that it can reshape the very fabric of your reality. Consider this. Every great change, every monumental shift in the course of human history began with a single thought, a thought that took root in the fertile soil of imagination, nurtured by the unwavering belief of its thinker. This video, this message, is that seed of thought for you. It has found you at precisely the right moment, when you are ready to embrace the extraordinary potential that has always existed within you. Let us delve deeper into this concept. The world you see around you, the circumstances of your life, the very essence of your being, all these are but reflections of your inner state. They are the manifestations of your deepest beliefs and assumptions about yourself in the world. And just as a mirror faithfully reflects whatever stands before it, your outer world reflects the state of your inner world. Now imagine for a moment that you could change that inner world, that you could do the power of your imagination and the strength of your belief reshape your inner landscape. What would happen then? Inevitably, inexorably, your outer world would begin to shift, to realign itself with this new inner reality. This, my friends, is the great secret that has been hidden in plain sight throughout the ages. The sages and mystics of every culture have spoken of it, often in veiled terms, but today we shall speak plainly, for the time for obscurity has passed. You are creators, each and every one of you, creators not just of art or music or literature, but of your very lives, of the world you inhabit. But how, you may ask, can we harness this creative power? How can we shape our inner world with such precision and potency that our outer world has no choice but to conform? The answer lies in a practice so simple, yet so profound, that its true power is often overlooked. Imagination, my dear listeners, is the workshop in which you forge your future. It is the canvas upon which you paint the masterpiece of your life. When you close your eyes and vividly imagine a scene, feeling it to be real, experiencing it with all your senses, you are not merely daydreaming. You are engaging in the most powerful creative act possible, for in that moment of imagining, you are stepping into a state of being. You are, in essence, becoming the person who has already achieved, already experienced, already become what you desire. And here is the crux of the matter. The outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match this new state of being. Think of it this way. If you were to wake up tomorrow morning as a person of great wealth, how would you feel? How would you carry yourself? What thoughts would occupy your mind? Now, can you see that by assuming that state, by living from that place of abundance and security, you are setting in motion the very forces that will bring that reality into your physical experience? This is not mere positive thinking or wishful daydreaming. This is a fundamental law of consciousness, as real and immutable as the law of gravity. Just as an apple must fall when released from your hand, so must your outer world conform to your inner state of being. But let us be clear. This power comes with great responsibility. For if you can create the life of your throat through the power of your imagination, then you must also acknowledge that the life you currently lead is of your own making. Every circumstance, every relationship, every success or failure is a reflection of your past assumptions and beliefs. This realization can be sobering, even frightening, but it is also incredibly liberating. For if you have created your current reality, then you have the power to create a new one. The past does not determine your future, your imagination does. Now, some of you may be thinking, but I've tried positive thinking before. I visualized and affirmed, and nothing changed. To you I say this, the power lies not in the technique, but in the feeling. It is not enough to merely picture what you want. You must feel it to be real here and now. You must live from the state of its fulfillment. Imagine a man who desires financial abundance. He may visualize himself with great wealth, but if he continues to feel poor, to live in a state of lack and limitation, his outer world will continue to reflect that inner poverty. But if he can assume the feeling of wealth, if he can live from that state of abundance, not in some imagined future, but right here and now, then the outer world must, by law, begin to reflect that inner richness. This is the art of living from the end. It is a practice of experiencing your desire as an accomplished fact, of making your future dream your present fact. When you master this art, you hold in your hands the key to unlocking every door, to achieving every goal, to becoming every version of yourself you've ever dreamed of being. But let us not mistake this for some sort of magical thinking. The outer world does not change overnight. The seed planted in the soil does not become a mighty oak in a day. There is a season for all things, a natural gestation period for every desire. Your task is not to make things happen, but to maintain that inner state of fulfillment, to nurture that seed with your unwavering belief and your consistent assumption of its reality. The how and the which manifestation are not your concern. Your only responsibility is to live your end into being imagination, what you wish to be in reality. Now, some of you may be wondering about the role of action in all of this. After all, surely we cannot simply sit back and wait for our desires to manifest. You are right to ask this question, for action does indeed play a crucial role, but it is not the frantic, desperate action of someone trying to make things happen. Rather, it is the inspired action that naturally flows from your new state of being. When you truly live from the state of your fulfilled desire, you will find yourself naturally drawn to take actions that align with that state. Opportunities will present themselves. Ideas will come to you, and you will act upon them not out of a sense of lack or need, but from a place of calm assurance and inner knowing. This is the difference between creating and making. When you try to make things happen, you are operating from a place of absence, of not having. But when you create from the state of already being or having, your actions are imbued with a different energy altogether. They become effortless, joyful expressions of your inner state, rather than strained attempts to change your outer world. Let us take a moment to truly absorb the magnitude of what we are discussing here. We are talking about nothing less than your ability to completely reshape your life, to step into a new reality of your own choosing. This video has found you at this precise moment, because you are ready for this transformation. The very fact that you are hearing these words is proof that you have called this knowledge into your life. But knowledge alone is not enough. It must be applied, must be lived to have any real power. So I challenge you right here and now to choose a desire, something you wish to be, do, or have. Close your eyes for a moment and step into the feeling of that desire fulfilled. Experience it with all your senses. Feel the emotions you would feel if it were already your reality. Now open your eyes. The world around you may look the same, but I assure you it is not. For in that moment of imaginative power, you have set in motion forces beyond your current comprehension. You have planted a seed in the fertile soil of infinite possibility, and that seed must grow. Your task now is to water that seed with your continued assumption of its reality. When doubts arise, and they will, gently return to that feeling of your desire fulfilled. When the outer world seems to contradict your inner knowing, stand firm in your conviction, for the outer is but a shadow, a reflection of past beliefs. Your new assumption, held with unwavering faith, will inevitably reshape that outer world. Remember, the universe is plastic to your deepest, most consistently held beliefs. It has no choice but to mold itself to your inner convictions. This is not something you need to force or struggle with. It is the natural, effortless operation of universal law. As you begin to live from this new understanding, you will notice changes in your life. They may be subtle at first, a shift in your mood, a new spring in your step, a sense of quiet confidence that wasn't there before. Embrace these changes, for they are the first fruits of your new way of being. Gradually, you will see larger shifts. Circumstances will align in ways you couldn't have planned. People will enter your life who resonate with your new frequency. Opportunities will present themselves that perfectly match your deepest desires. And through it all, you will know with unshakable certainty that you are the creator of it all. This, my dear friends, is the true meaning of living a life of power and purpose. It is not about controlling the outer world or bending others to your will. It is about mastering your inner world, about becoming so aligned with your deepest desires that the outer world naturally conforms to your inner vision. As we continue on this journey of exploration and revelation, I want you to understand that what we are discussing here is not some new age fantasy or feel-good philosophy. This is the very mechanism by which reality operates. It is the underlying principle that governs the unfolding of all existence. Think for a moment about the world around you. Every man-made object you see, the buildings, the vehicles, the devices in your hands, began as a thought, an imaginal act. Someone somewhere held in their mind a vision of these things before they came into physical being. Your ability to create is no different. The only distinction is in the medium. Instead of steel and concrete, you are molding the very substance of reality itself. Now, I can sense that some of you may be feeling overwhelmed by the magnitude of this power. You may be thinking, if I am responsible for creating my reality, then why have I created circumstances I don't desire? This is a natural and important question to ask. The answer lies in understanding the nature of your subconscious mind. Your subconscious does not distinguish between what you want and what you don't want. It simply accepts as true whatever you consistently impress upon it, whether through your habitual thoughts, your emotional states, or your deeply held beliefs. Many of us have spent years, even decades, impressing upon our subconscious mind's limitations, fears, and doubts. Is it any wonder that our lives reflect these impressions? But here's the liberating truth. Just as you have impressed these limiting beliefs upon your subconscious, you can impress new, empowering beliefs. You can overwrite the old programming with a new vision of yourself and your life. This is the very essence of the transformation we are discussing. The technique is simple, but its consistent application requires dedication and persistence. Each night as you drift off to sleep, enter into a state akin to sleep, but still conscious. In this drowsy, receptive state, imagine a scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire. Make it as vivid and as real as you possibly can. Feel the joy, the satisfaction, the sense of accomplishment that would accompany the realization of your dream. As you fall asleep in this state, you are impressing this new reality upon your subconscious mind. You are planting the seed of your new life in the fertile soil of infinite possibility. Do this night after night, and you will begin to see changes in your outer world. Your subconscious mind, operating below the level of your conscious awareness, will begin to reshape your reality to match this new impression. But remember, this is not a one-time event. Just as you wouldn't plant a seed and then dig it up every day to check its progress. You must have faith in the unseen processes that are at work. Your only task is to persist in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, to live each day from the state of already being what you desire to be. Now let's address another question that may be arising in your minds. What about other people? Don't they have their own free will? How can my imagination influence them? This is a profound question, and it strikes at the heart of our understanding of reality. The truth is what you perceive as other people are in your world, playing the parts that you have assigned to them. This doesn't mean they don't have free will in their own realities. But in your experience, they will conform to your assumptions about them. If you consistently assume that people are kind and helpful, you will find your world filled with kind and helpful people. If you assume the opposite, that is what you will experience. This understanding places a great responsibility on your shoulders. For if everyone in your world is playing a part based on your assumptions, then it is up to you to cast them in the roles you wish them to play. See the best in others, assume the best of them, and they will rise to meet your expectations. But what of global events, you may ask? How can my imagination influence the larger world? Again, we must return to the fundamental truth. Your experience of the world is a reflection of your inner state. As you change your inner world, your perception and experience of the outer world will change. This doesn't mean you should ignore the challenges facing our world, but it does mean that the most powerful way to create positive change is to embody that change within yourself. Be the peace you wish to see in the world. Live from a state of abundance, and you will see abundance reflected back to you. As more and more individuals awaken to this truth and begin living from empowered states of being, we will see a collective shift in our shared reality. Now, I want to address something that many of you may be feeling at this point. You may be excited by these ideas, inspired by the possibilities they present, but you may also be feeling a sense of doubt. Can it really be this simple? You may be asking, if this is true, why isn't everyone doing it? The answer, my friends, is that while the principle is indeed simple, its application requires a fundamental shift in how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. It requires us to let go of many deeply ingrained beliefs and habits of thought. It asks us to take complete responsibility for our lives, to step into our power as creators. This can be a daunting prospect. Many people, when confronted with this truth, shrink back from it. They find comfort in the familiar, even if the familiar is not what they truly desire. But you, my dear listeners, are different. The very fact that this video has found you, that you are hearing these words, is proof that you are ready for this transformation. You are ready to step into your power as a conscious creator. You are ready to take control of your inner world, and by doing so, reshape your outer reality. This is why your life is about to change. This is why you find yourself at this pivotal moment, poised on the brink of a new way of being. But let me be clear, this is not about gaining power over others, or manipulating the world to serve your ego. This is about aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe, about becoming a channel through which the infinite expresses itself. It's about living a life of purpose, of joy, of fulfillment, not just for yourself, but as an inspiration and a blessing to all those around you. As we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge. For the next 30 days, commit yourself fully to this practice. Choose one desire, one change you wish to see in your life. Each night as you fall asleep, imagine it as vividly as you can. Feel it as real. Leave each day from the state of its fulfillment. Do this consistently, persistently, and with unwavering faith. Don't worry about the how or the when. Your only task is to live from the end, to be in imagination what you wish to be in reality. The universe will take care of the rest. At the end of those 30 days, reflect on your experience. Notice the changes, both subtle and profound, that have occurred in your life. Pay attention to the shifts in your perception, in your emotional state, in the way you interact with the world around you. This, my friends, is just the beginning. As you master this practice, as you become more and more aligned with your true creative power, you will find yourself capable of transforming not just your individual circumstances, but of contributing to the transformation of our collective reality. Remember, the world is waiting for you to awaken to your true power. It is longing for you to step into the fullness of who you truly are. For as you liberate yourself, as you begin to live from a place of joy, abundance, and love, you liberate those around you. You become a living example of what is possible, a beacon of hope and inspiration in a world that so desperately needs it. So go forth, my dear friends, with this newfound knowledge. Let it sink deep into your being. Let it inform every thought, every action, every moment of your day. Know that as you do so, you will become the emotion forces that will reshape your entire existence. Your life is about to change, not because of external circumstances, but because you are awakening to the immense power that has always resided within you. This video, these words, have found you at precisely the right moment when you are ready to embrace this truth and step into your role as the conscious creator of your reality. As you move forward from this moment, carry with you the understanding that your imagination is the most powerful tool you possess. Use it wisely, use it consistently, and use it with love. Remember that what you imagine and feel to be real must, by universal law, become your reality. This is not wishful thinking, but the very mechanism by which all of creation operates. In the coming days and weeks, you will begin to notice changes in your life. They may be subtle at first, a shift in your mood, a new opportunity presenting itself, a fortuitous encounter. Embrace these changes, for they are the first fruits of your new way of being. They are confirmation that you are aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe. But do not stop there. As you see these initial changes manifesting in your life, let them fuel your faith and strengthen your resolve. Continue to live from the state of your wish fulfilled, even when the outer world seems to contradict it. For remember, the outer is but a shadow of your past beliefs. Your new assumptions, held with unwavering faith, will inevitably reshape that outer world. Finally, my dear friends, know that this journey you are embarking upon is not just for your own benefit. As you transform your own life, you become a beacon of hope and inspiration for others. You demonstrate what is possible when one awakens to their true nature as a creative force in the universe. And in doing so, you contribute to the elevation of all humanity. So go forth with courage, with faith, and with the unshakable knowledge that the life of your dreams is not just possible, it is inevitable. For you are the operant power, the author of your destiny, the creator of your reality. Your life is about to change because you have chosen to change it. Embrace this power and watch in awe as the world transforms before your eyes.